before I call.
Okay.
Thank you. Recording in progress.
All right, I'll be right back.
Okay.
So what do I do if I want to blur the background? Do I go to apps?
You go to apps
Okay.
down at the bottom. I think you click on that, and I think
Hey
that
Stan, you
will-
have three little dots in your upper right corner.
Oh, those. Hang
Click on
on.
that,
Let me
and
get
you're
out
gonna
of here.
see blur my background.
Okay, hang on. Yes, you could go for full screen.
yeah, that might be another way to do it.
No, that didn't work. Try this.
I can unblur mine and I can blur mine.
Yeah, no, I see. I don't. And
Yeah, the three little
Right.
dots in the corner.
right
Up,
corner.
upper
I have view, speaker gallery, exit full screen. You're in a practice session.
No, don't go that high. Look in the window that you are in.
Oh, hi.
Not the bigger window. Look in
Hi,
your
world.
world.
Yeah, yeah. But thank you very much. Blur my background. Bingo. Look at that.
There you go. All right. There you are,
That was easy.
sitting out in space.
Yeah, that's right. Once I got on the same planet with everybody else. While we're waiting, I will say that for the message I sent out that had that blank, my bad, and what you missed was a very short video of a battery-powered moped, if you will, sitting in a room and being recorded by a security camera. That's how they got the footage. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it bursts into flame. And then it explodes, and then the whole room is gone.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Stan, there have been a lot of those. There are quite a number of videos of that were accidental, and quite a number of them that were done by NTSF and various other agencies, including the testing agencies with
Right.
Lithium batteries and the little scooters and what have you.
Right.
It's why they don't allow them on airplanes. At least that's the theory.
Right.
No. Okay, I'm gonna one more click of the clock here, and I'll call us to order because as you may have noticed, I like to get going on time and get out in a reasonable time. Okay, it being 4:04, we have a quorum. I'm going to call to order the October 12th meeting of the San Rafael Fire Commission. Good afternoon, everybody, and let's see who else shows up, if any. Otherwise, we will go right ahead and conduct business. It's open time for the public. I don't think we have anybody from the public that wants to chime in unless Catherine has somebody in reserve there. Not hearing any, we'll move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the approval of the minutes. Have you guys had an opportunity to look over the minutes from last month?
I'll see them in order.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. I promise to. No. Okay, that carried by unanimous vote of all
Barry, do
present.
we have someone taking minutes for this meeting?
That's a good question. Let me check the. Tom is the one that's supposed to be taking
Ah.
minutes.
I'm glad you reminded me.
because you did a swap back there. So Tom, you're on
I'm on.
with the minute taking. I will skip over the Fire Foundation since we don't have Donna on yet. And we can always come back to that. We can go right to the commission members report. I'll put myself last. Nadine's not here yet. Tom, do you have anything you want to contribute for
I do
October?
not. Thank you.
Ken is not here, so we'll skip over that. David, do you have anything you want to throw in?
I just wanted to share a post I saw on social media.
Thanks, Catherine.
Catherine, are you able to let me share my screen? Actually, I think I can. So can you all see that?
Yeah.
It's coming up.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. It was
There you go.
Ooh.
I do.
It was on Nextdoor, and just a really nice kudos to the San Rafael Fire Department. I thought it was pretty cool.
Oh,
They
excellent.
are fearless.
Hear everything right?
Yes.
And
So-
that's,
Then I'm gonna hang up. You
Okay. All right. Thank you much.
It's really nice to see those accolades. So that's all I had.
Okay, I appreciate that. Chief White, welcome aboard. We went ahead and we've gone through the minutes, and we're going to circle back for the Fire Foundation report, assuming that Donna gets in here someplace along the line. Stan, do you have anything you want to contribute?
Just a couple of comments on the email I sent out. At some point in time, it would be nice to know if there is an avenue through which we can address the rapid increase in the use of lithium batteries in recreational equipment, namely bicycles and scooters and all of those things you may have seen in the second part of that email. It strikes me as where we're going as a social population of bicycling and recreation and what have you, but I'm not seeing a lot of cautionary notes about the battery power. And I know the fire department is trained specially to handle car fires. That's a big issue and a bigger issue than a bicycle. But a bicycle in somebody's garage that could catch on fire, what are they going to do? Throw a bucket of water on it and then watch it explode. So I'm just throwing it on the table, not for discussion today necessarily, but to just get the thought out there that it's an area that maybe the fire department can address through public channel. The other issue is, as most of you probably know, the parking box program for the city of San Rafael has started, which is to say, in neighborhoods like mine, a whole bunch of streets are now no parking zones. I'm getting a number of emails and phone calls from neighbors going, what the, fill in the blank. And I'm explaining to them what the program is about and why it's happening the way it's happening. All I'm saying is I live in Fair Hills and I have volunteered my service to the neighbors here to explain to them, one, why it's happening, two, what's happening, why the regulations are there, and what other alternatives they may have for parking vehicles or visitors' cars or what have you. Just another issue that's facing all of us, no matter where we live in the city.
Okay, I'm going to put that sort of under the category of advising the fire department that we should be amping up public communication with regard to parking box program.
Yeah.
That is a good idea. Most of us are aware of it because of our participation in the fire commission. I can tell you from having run calls with the department in my personal vehicle, the full-size pickup truck, that parking in a lot of the hillside areas, I mean, I've been up on fires where I had difficulty getting to the incident in my pickup truck, and getting fire apparatus up in those areas could be close to impossible. There was one on Upper Terrace years ago that the engine company was pulling hoses for close to 1,000 feet to get up to that fire. So public information on parking boxes, a very good idea. Your other suggestion, public information on the hazard of lithium batteries, another excellent idea. I saw Chief White raise his hand there. I think you want to make a comment.
Absolutely. Is this the appropriate time?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
All right. Well, good afternoon. It's good to be with you today. I just wanted to share that our emergency manager, Quinn Gardner, and staff from the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, going back several months ago, started doing public outreach, and that went via the council members of those particular districts where we had identified particular areas where we're going to receive signage or painting on the curbs or parking boxes. And so this is not something that we just launched without any outreach effort whatsoever. In addition, there were letters that were sent to the neighborhood associations and to some of the other leadership in those areas. And so given that, we've had to pause in some instances because of delays with signage and delays with receiving some of the tools and what have you. But ultimately, there is an effort to communicate with those who are impacted immediately, if not within the surrounding areas, so that they're aware of the changes that are coming and being proposed. And in a couple of instances, we've actually went back to revisit some of the areas that were identified erroneously that required either parking boxes or something else that really wasn't applicable for that particular street. So if there are specific individuals who have not received information, that is very possible. But I will say as a whole, we were very proactive about looping in the council member for the affected district and or those in the immediate vicinity to make sure there was an understanding about what was being proposed and why. And there were a few opportunities for community members to interact and express concerns, ask questions. So I've got to admit that may not have been as casting a net as wide as we should have, but we certainly did attempt to cast nets in each of those areas from what I understand, speaking with my staff.
All
Yeah,
of the nets were cast, and the people that I have spoken with did receive the letters. This is how they read them. Oh, I'll look at that later.
Oh,
Yeah, there's always that 10%, and I think the department's been very proactive in getting word out
Indeed.
on all of these things. So, but it's good to note, and things like the issue with lithium batteries, with holidays coming up, and kids getting new lithium battery powered toys and what have you. That's going to be a good one for, and as a matter of fact, Stan, maybe bring that one up for the November meeting, because that's really timely for the holidays. So anyway, okay, appreciate it. Anything else from Stan?
They call it a smart aleck response in advertising, and that's what we're doing with much of this. Our mantra for a long time where I was working was, tell them you're going to tell them, tell them you told them,
And then tell them again.
and then tell them again.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Donna, I'm going to recognize you. We'll skip back to item 2 for Fire Foundation report. We got, I wasn't sure how quickly everybody was going to show up and what have you, and I thought there might be some technical difficulties. And I'm very big on starting on time, so we only waited 4 minutes, and away we went. But Donna.
So speaking of that, I still am having technical difficulties getting in. It took me like 6 minutes to get in. I don't know what the problem is. I'm using the links, and it said I wasn't a panelist, and then I tried again, and it did let me in as a panelist. I don't know. So sorry for the tardiness, but it wasn't my bad.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I really like the shirts I see Tom and Stan wearing today. Very nice, very nice.
Thank you.
And
Excellent.
thank you for it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, appreciate that. Anything else from the Fire Foundation side or a
Not
personal
really,
report?
no major updates. I've got a meeting scheduled with them later this month, but nothing to report on at this time.
Okay. Ken, we had skipped over you earlier. I see you're there. Well, I see that I see a black hole, but
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm with Donna. I'm not getting into this system easily at all. And I've been on Zoom calls all day long. I don't know why my camera's not working, but apparently it's not. So no big deal. One thing that popped in because of Nadine bringing up Pulse Point in a previous Fire Commission meeting, I ran into a gentleman, I believe his first name was Tom Peterson. He works with Marin County County of Emergency Services, and we started talking about Pulse Point. And I said, well, he goes, our next deal is to, have no one more than 4 minutes away from a AED. And I go, oh, can you find the AEDs on Pulse Point? And he goes, yeah, look. And he showed it to me, and I go, well, can you look up this address and then this address and this address? I go, well, you know what? None of the locations that I know there are AEDs in are popping up on your deal. And he goes, yeah, we're trying to get information. We're trying to add locations as fast as we can. It's just, we can't get the word out, or, people aren't responding, or I don't know. There was some issues there. And I go, well, I know why my client's got at least 87 to 90 AEDs in Marin County, and I can provide you with that information. All he needs to put them up is a picture and the address. So Archdiocese of San Francisco, from Lima to St. Vincent's, is going to be sending those pictures over to those guys. I didn't know that was such a challenge. He's like, we were supposed to put banners up, and we haven't been able to do that. So I don't know if the chief is aware of that, or maybe the Fire Foundation might. I don't know if we can help them or not, but every little bit helps, because he then said, the stats are such that if somebody has an AED within 4 minutes of it, a heart attack, their chances of living goes up significantly. So
Ken, where is the AED? I'm looking at Pulse Point as we speak, and I don't know where you would even find it in here.
he showed me, we were at this event, and he goes, you can just let me see if I have it here. If you go in Pulse Point,
Yeah,
there's a little box on there that shows AED, and maybe the chief would know.
it would be good if you could shoot it out to us.
Yeah. I could do a follow-up on that.
I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Because we all know of places where there are AEDs, and it just didn't seem to be showing up on his app. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was something that this group of people would be able to maybe help.
Yeah, and I think that's a good idea. And an awful lot of the AEDs out there are privately owned. They're in businesses and what have you. I happen to have one in my truck. But I, of course, Pulse Point doesn't know that. But it would be a good idea, and I appreciate if you would follow up on that.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Give us some more information.
Sure, I'll get that out to the group. And the last thing, I always give you guys a flip on the insurance side. Hurricane Ian, last count, was $74 billion in insured losses from Florida to the Carolinas. So that will have an effect. Everybody thinks, wow, we're having a great year. No wildfires, knock on wood, so far. But it hits the reinsurance. So Ian is going to cause, he's not going to give any, that storm's not going to give any relief to our problems in California for property insurance.
Yeah, quite the contrary. I think more and more insurers will be pulling out of the high risk markets like California and the hurricane zone and the flood zones of the Midwest and what have you.
Yeah.
I think the insurance industry over the next decade or two probably in for a shakeup. And to those of us who look to insurance, rather dramatically increase premiums. So,
Yep, exactly
Okay.
correct.
okay, anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okey doke.
Larry, I thought of something I should have said on the foundation.
Okay, let's go back to you.
So, Chief, I want you to know I'm now getting your newsletter, Hot Shots.
Yep.
Excellent newsletter. And I should have said that in the Hot Shots issue that came out recently, the foundation was honored to be written up with nice photographs about the boot program that is actually live and up and running. It's done. So I should have said something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
Go
sorry, I
ahead.
was waiting because I know everyone's got their reports before I keep interjecting. So I had your back on that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Hot Shots, very nice.
all right. Okay, then it gets down to me, and let me see, what do I have to tell you? Not long after our last meeting, I had an experience with our department that there's nothing like a personal experience to drive home the importance of the services that the department provides and how well they provide them. And in my case, it was on the 15th of last month when I utilized the services via 911 of Medic 52 and a ride into Kaiser, into the emergency hospital with a bowel blockage problem that was really quite painful, and it required several days in the hospital and nasogastral tube and various things like that that are very, very unpleasant. But I can tell you that the response from the guys in the department was fantastic. And I was so out of it at the time they arrived that I'm not even sure who was on the call, but it was professional. I got the care I needed. I got pain medication on the way to the hospital, and I got into the emergency room quickly. And Kaiser did their stuff and sent me home 4 or 5 days later, which was much appreciated. Not long after that, I developed a knee problem with arthritis that's left me mostly immobile for the last couple of weeks, which is why I'm not wearing my Fire Foundation t-shirt. I haven't been able to get down to the Public Safety Center to pick it up, but I will do that over the next couple of days. Next thing I wanted to share with you is I came across a series of things. I'm going to hold one up to the camera. This is a patent application. This particular one, it was patented July 16, 1889, a fireman's hat, fireman's helmet. I got another one here from October 28, 1890. This is what was thought to be breathing apparatus for firefighters in a couple of centuries ago. And there are several others. There's one with firefighter tools and what have you. I have scanned these and put them up on the Photo 50 website. So I'll send you out a link later today so that you can take a look at those. They're really kind of interesting. The other thing I wanted to mention Because emergency services, whether at our level, the municipal level, county level, statewide or national, and then going up to international with the United States military, are incredibly complex, even at the lowest possible level. The San Rafael Fire Department, Police Department, Emergency Medical Services, etc. And because of the level of complexity, it's very easy for things to go wrong. And I came across an article published in Atlantic Magazine in 1998. It's in the March of 1998 issue, and it's a long article that talks about ValueJet 592. I don't know how many of you remember that, but this was 1995. This was ValueJet, which was a brand new low-cost airline. And one of their airplanes departed Miami on a flight to, I think it was Memphis.
Yeah, that's true.
And 6 minutes into the flight, the pilots radioed air traffic control that they needed to return to Miami immediately. They were not successful. The airplane crashed into the Everglades, and part of what I remember about it from the time was there was a great amount of concern about the environmental impact on the Everglades. It turned out that there really was no long-term environmental impact, but the article is not really about that. The article is about the complexity of systems like airlines, and the same applies to our local emergency services. There are literally millions of moving parts, and one little thing that goes wrong can cascade from step to step unless it's caught at some subsequent step. And a crisis, a tragedy, is avoided. It's an article that to me, it's the kind of thing that's just fascinating. And for anybody that's interested in complex systems and failure analysis, it's a really interesting thing to read. It's available online, and I highly recommend it. And the one final thing, and this is perhaps the most important thing that I have to tell you about today, is that as of September 21st of earlier this year, I became a great uncle. My nephew and his wife, the relatives in the Czech Republic, brought forth the first of the newest generation of Sokups, my wife's family name. He's a great little guy. His name's Eli, and he and mom and the whole family are all very healthy. And because Paula and I don't have children, this is about as close as we are going to get. So we've taken it upon ourselves to be just as excited as if we were grandparents. So that's all I have. And next on line is Chief White.
Well, congratulations to you on your new addition. I always wonder about granduncle versus great uncle, and I never get those terms right. So I've got to go back and do some genealogy corrections.
I had to get a chart to figure it out. There are charts online.
Yeah. I'll start back with the Pulse Point conversation. I certainly think there's messaging that the department can do to encourage members in the community to report the location of any AEDs that they may be aware of, just to ensure that Pulse Point is aware of them. I'm hopeful that Post Point is also taking a proactive stance on trying to figure out how they can communicate directly with maybe the mailing list or the purchasers of AEDs, whether they be individuals or if they are EMS or fire service or law enforcement organizations or even other private entities, so that they can encourage those individuals to register the AED and thereby make it that much more useful to anybody that may be in the vicinity. So I'd like to certainly follow up and find out if that effort is underway. I'm assuming it would be. I mean, it just makes natural sense that if somebody gets a registration card to register their AED, that perhaps there's an insert or something else that compels them to reach out to Post Point as the primary source of AED locationing device or capability for the use of an AED. So certainly I'll follow up with my staff and follow up with Post Point staff to find out if that's something that's underway as well. But I have to assume that they're doing something in that regard. As far as the lithium battery concerned, that's a much bigger lift. You're talking about Underwriters Laboratory and a whole bunch of others who have to get involved in whether or not lithium batteries are determined to be unsafe. And then the regulatory agencies that weigh in on that will far supersede, I think, the fire service's voice on this, unless we can point to repeated evidence that there's a risk. And I think we've had some instances in the past where you've had, I think it was the Razor or some other scooter that used to exist that was pretty popular, and then suddenly they started igniting in garages and in other locations. In fact, we went to a fire here in San Rafael, somewhere in the Terra Linda area, if I'm not mistaken, and it was one of the firefighters' homes, and it was under renovation, but there was a lithium battery appliance or device, or it may have been a bike. I don't remember if it was a bike or a motorbike or something along those lines, but that thing actually ignited and burned down to the garage and extended into the kitchen area. So there's certainly a case that can be made that these things are creating a hazard, and even more so as we get closer to the holiday season when people are purchasing large numbers and quantities of these. I just would hope that at some point that the federal government would weigh in and make these things that much more safer if they're going to be allowed to be sold, either via the internet or at on-site locations. So, but certainly, again, a conversation I can bring forward to the Marin County Fire Chiefs Association, and maybe we do a joint blitz, if you will, to communicate with the members of the community within the county about ensuring that their lithium product meets a minimum threshold for safety, if nothing else. So that's a greater conversation.
Yeah, and that not to don't mean to interrupt, but that's one of the areas where the origin and cause investigations that are done on fires and the reports that are submitted, mostly by fire agencies through NFIRS, but that's what leads to investigations by places like Underwriter Labs and what have you, that determine that a particular appliance or particular device is in fact unsafe, and they pull it off the market or recall it.
Thank you. Thank you. And I was going to address something that Commissioner Johnson spoke to, but I think it'll be coming up right now in my report if you guys are ready for me to share that. Okay, so the Marin Wildfire Prevention Authority, we have the Insurance Institute for Business and Home Safety has developed a program called Wildfire Prepared Designated Program. And so with that program, individuals who believe that their properties are in compliance with local ordinances and expectations as it pertains to fire safety have the ability to request a self-evaluation and, they have the ability to complete a self-evaluation and submit it and request a third-party vendor send out an inspector to come out and determine whether or not they've actually complied and are deemed to be within compliance of wildfire inspection standards, if you will. And so that cost will run roughly $150. The benefit of that we anticipate or hope is that by having this designation, individuals who otherwise might have had some challenges with their insurance company, either increasing their annual rates, or somehow or another deciding not to write policy in the area, or somehow or another deciding to outright cancel the policy. The hope is that this designation will disrupt that and or make it something that at some point is a thing of the past or has minimal impact by virtue of the fact that the homeowner is doing their due diligence and ensuring that they are in the best possible status possible. With that, Executive Director Mark Brown and several others from within the county, including Chief Tyler, Todd Lando, and other notable individuals, have been working closely with Mr. Jason Brooks from Fireside, which is the application that's being developed that can take the data from inspections that an agency performs and migrate it into that fire application, and thereby stop from having to have our members pay an additional fee to be inspected. So if our annual inspections are revealing much the same thing as this third-party inspection reveals, then that information, with the homeowner's permission, can be transferred over to the application, and the homeowner can receive that wildfire designation, preparedness designation. And so the hope is, after some more future refining and after ensuring that those bugs and technological things are worked out and ironed out, that this will be a smooth process that will at some point, hopefully not long from now, and certainly hopefully before the next quote unquote fire season, where we look at things happening usually around May or so, that temperatures start increasing, fuel start drying out again, that we'll have something in place that individual homeowners can have it as a tool to offset perhaps some unfavorable stance by the insurance company. So there'll be more to follow on that as we actually have see this 6-step program that they've outlined at this point, that they believe is down to 6 steps to make things interoperable, if you will. And so I'll present more on that as I learn more and as Director Brown shares more information in the weeks and months ahead. COVID-19. Well, I'll say that, so far I've been really encouraged by just, it seems like things are returning to normal. In a lot of places, there's no more mask requirement. We're not on BART or even on aircraft or other places where they're mandating masking. And it doesn't seem like the infection levels are increasing substantially either. That being said, in the United Kingdom, though, it's kind of a different situation there. And as some of us have been told and understand, things that happen in the United Kingdom, somehow within about a 4 to 6 week period, those things have been historically replicating themselves here in the United States and in other places around the globe. And so the United Kingdom has seen an uptick in the number of middle-aged school students and or young adults ages 25 to 34 with increased COVID infection. And there's a few things that's attributed to that. Part of it is, not as many people being vaccinated or taking boosters. Part of it is the idea that the boosters they were using were for the original Omicron variant, not the BA4 and BA5 variants. Part of that also stems from just massive numbers of people coming back together after the summer's over and going to class and maybe catching colds and sharing germs and what have you in those close-knit environments. However, one of the things that is really telling, and it's going to be studied and evaluated for the next few weeks to come, is with the death of Queen Elizabeth, there was a substantial number of people that were gathered in close proximity to one another. And so they're concerned that infection rates may increase in large part due to the many thousands of people who either have waning protection or who have not opted to be boosted, and or those who might be infected, all circulating in the same area. And so individuals from Texas and the United Kingdom and elsewhere are going to be studying that to see if there are any trends and any significant concerns and increases. I think it's a curious thing to understand that here in the United States, we've also seen a reduction in the number of individuals who are being vaccinated. And I think that's in part due to individual preference and or the fact that we're using now a new vaccine or booster that's supposed to include the BA4 and 5 and any subvariants of the BA4 and BA5. I had difficulty finding the ability to get my vaccine through Kaiser. At one point, first responders were encouraged to come early on and get those boosters and vaccinations. Now, not as easy to achieve and not as easy to obtain. And I don't know if there's supply level issues or if they're just controlling the amounts based on first come, first serve. But there used to be a hierarchy in how this was approached. The elderly from 80 years old and up were first tier. The next tier was maybe 60 to 80. The previous tier was maybe 30 to 60, and then the others were from 12 on up. I don't see anything like that being communicated or even required right now. So I got lucky and I went to Rite Aid because I got a text that said that I was able to either go in person or sign up and schedule it. I opted to go in person. I was met with a little bit of resistance that I came in person, and I showed the text and said, well, I received this in person. And the pharmacist, or the assistant there, acquiesced and gave me the vaccine. But it's just, I don't know that the numbers have reduced in part because of, or in large part because of people just being unwilling. I think it's in part because there's some availability challenges right now that aren't being shared through media. So we'll see how things progress as we go. But more to follow on that. I'm assuming by the next report I provide, there'll be some new additional information about infection rates or whether or not those infections are as severe as the previous infections that started with the original Omicron and then, original COVID, and then those that were with the Omicron that were really very infectious just a year ago. So, but I'm hopeful. We'll see. Station 54 and Station 55 renovations continue. They're making substantial progress at Station 55. There was a meeting. I can't go into a lot of detail about that meeting, but that meeting consisted of the fire department, command staff, myself, Chief Sennett, and Chief Roman, meeting with Department of Public Works and the developer about some concerns we had in the way of professionalism. I think the meeting was very productive. Everyone agreed that, we want to move forward and make sure that things get done in a timely manner, but also in a manner that our personnel are treated in a way that they expect to be treated and the way we expect them to treat others that we serve and interact with. And so that was I won't say a highly contested situation, but it was something that certainly, whenever I think I have to get involved in behavior and conduct as I'm becoming, that means that things are kind of going in the wrong direction quickly. And so I think we explained our position fairly succinctly and respectfully, and I think they heard and observed and understood that there's probably improvement that could have occurred on both sides, but certainly the goal is to get the project done. And so with that being said, I don't want to publicly announce this, but it looks like at least Station 55 may be coming in completed ahead of schedule. Crossing my fingers on it, we'll see. Okay. Courtesy of Dr. Mizrock, on September 28th, Diana Georgie said farewell to the San Rafael Fire Department and many individuals that she had worked with over the years, and quite a few stopped by and others sent emails and made phone calls. But unfortunately for me, I had a schedule conflict, so I was not able to participate, but I sent some comments that I wanted to share with Diana about my experience working with her during the past couple of years and how her historical perspective and her disposition and temperament and patience and just being very supportive of me meant the world to me. And I'm really, truly wishing her well in her journey ahead. I think she has some grandkids she wants to go see on the East Coast, but unfortunately about the time she was leaving, Hurricane Ian was passing through, and it kind of just took everything out in the Charlotte, North Carolina area off the table for her. So we presented her with a nice departing administrative assistant badge, similar to this one, but somewhat different in that it was silver. Had her name on it. We also gave her a shield and just a etched plaque, or not plaque, but etched label expressing our gratitude for her service. And we put it in the shadow box, and she's just recently picked up the shadow box. So really happy to see Diana move on and enjoy herself. I know she had been debating on this for some time, but she felt like now was the right time. So we wish her well. Not long after that, we had the benefit of, Commissioner McCusker and Chairperson Thompson and Dr. Mizrock, and I think I'm missing somebody. Oh, yes, Jack Devlin, all came to Station 51 and met with us to provide us with a very, very generous donation to assist us with our fire boot program. And so I shared those photos with Chief Sennett and a little bit of a caption so he could include that in the hotshot news. Even though I knew it was going to be in this report, I wanted to make sure the word got out as well. And again, we want to thank Commissioner McCusker for that very generous donation of hers that really made this possible, because it took the amount that we were going to provide and enhanced it so much so that we think for the next 4 or 5 years, we'll be able to help everyone in the department. So Commissioner McCusker, thank you so much for that generous donation.
You're welcome.
So in receiving it that day were President Anthony Alviso. He was working at Station 51, as was E-Board member Dan Rotwine, and a fan favorite, Diego Terrones Rojas, who is one of the characters in the department. They made a sticker and it says "Be like Diego." It's got a picture of him on the front of the sticker. Just really entertaining. So last but not least, another thing that was done recently from the Fire Foundation involved Dr. Stephen Mizrock swinging by and providing Station 58 with the same generosity that was provided to the San Rafael Fire Department members in the form of house fund items that included shoe polish, peanut butter and jelly, potatoes, butter, flour, and just a warm thank you and token of appreciation for those members for the work that they have contributed towards, our community risk reduction and our safety efforts on the northeast end of San Rafael. And so that, I think they were very appreciative of this, and I wanted to make sure, and I included this in my report that I provide also to the Marinwood Board of Directors and their fire commission. And so I didn't want to show them up in any way, but it was still, I had to show them that the Fire Foundation is helping their personnel so that you guys got full acknowledgement and recognition. And so in doing so, though, it prompted a couple of questions about maybe how the fire commission operates, and maybe there's some things perhaps the commission in Marinwood could be doing differently. And I explained that this is the Fire Foundation in this particular instance, not necessarily the commission that led this effort, but some of the commissioners are part of the foundation and they fully support what's taking place. So hopefully that kind of spurs some additional interest on their part to support their members, because as we all know, Marinwood staff are not necessarily the best compensated members or the most favorably compensated members within the county. And so we appreciate the work that they do, but we also appreciate the Fire Foundation being willing to extend their generosity to them as well. So thank you for that. And then last but not least, one of the individuals who used to provide maintenance work and mechanical work for our fire apparatus, a Steve Rutkowski. That's it. Thank you. Steve Rutkowski stopped by and as did someone else that he was close with, to say goodbye to Diana. And through the course of that conversation, he shared with myself and Chief Senate that at the Fire Museum, there was a couple of apparatus there. And I'd never known about this. Sitting in Gerstle Park, there was obviously something called the Firemen's Museum. We've since blotted out Firemen's and just put Fire Museum so that we're being politically and gender correct and gender neutral. But the thing is, there were a couple of retro apparatus going back well over almost 150 years ago. And they're sitting in this enclosed area along with a fire alarm panel that has to be 100 years old, if not older. And it was just stunning to see these items sitting there. And I say that because on this past Friday, we went out directly to go look at these items, measure them, and see if we could relocate these items, or at least some of them, to the Public Safety Center lobby as part of an ongoing future discussion ongoing discussion about what we can display in the future in the PSC. And so with that, we also on this past Friday took a trip over to 519 4th Street, where we have some other items stored, including the 1938 fire truck and some other peripheral equipment, including what I believe is another ladder wagon, similar to what you see here, but a lot bigger and longer. Well, it turns out there were a bunch of photographs that are there. Oh, that's a beautiful picture of it. Wow.
Yep. That's the 1938 American LaFrance.
Yes. Well, given that, we found some other photographs, some of them that were not within the frame, but we saw the frame, but the glass had been broken, that date exactly 100 years ago today. Or not today, but 100 years ago this year.
Hmm.
So we pulled all of those things immediately. I told Chief Senate and Chief Roman, let's get it all up. We want this stuff out of here, and we want it over in our locked, I won't call it it's called the mezzanine, but it doesn't look like a mezzanine. It's more like a closet storage area. But we want to relocate those things into a safe area where we know where we'll have access and we can control access to those things, because we don't know how much it used to be there that's no longer there. And we also found some old journals, roughly almost 100 years old journals that were in there for company journals. And so those are historical archives that we certainly have to hold on to and preserve and pass on for the next generation. So that being said, there'll be more to follow on that, but I'm going to try to include something historical in each one of the future reports moving forward. That concludes my report.
Okay, much appreciated. Speaking of journals, this was a number of years ago. I took one of those day logs. I'm going to say it started in, I think it was January 1911 through 1921, handwritten, all in pencil, the day's activities, and digitized it for the the old Blair House Museum. I don't know whatever happened to it, but I'm sure I still have a digital copy. And if I do, I will get that up on the Photo 50 website as well. It's fascinating reading, the kind of calls that the volunteers went out on in
Absolutely.
1911.
I would appreciate having access to any of the photos or archives that you have, because as we get closer to our 150th anniversary, one of the things I'm trying to gently push the membership into favoring is an idea of a 150th anniversary yearbook. And so in that yearbook, I'd like to capture as much as we can go back with retroactively and bring some of that forward and keep included in the 150th anniversary yearbook. So my hope is to find things that really can tell the story of yesteryear all the way to present as best we're able to.
Okay. Much appreciated. Ken, you, all right.
In time.
Yeah, just in time.
Nice seeing you. Goodbye.
Nice to
See you guys.
see you. All right. Does anybody have anything else they would like to contribute to the October meeting? If not, I'm going to say thank you very much for your attendance and contributions, and gavel the meeting closed at 4:53, and I'll see you all next month.
You bet. Take care. Stay safe.
Yo.
Everybody, take care.
And close.